why I closed my multi six-figure business down earlier this year and chose myself. One of the things I talk about a lot are medicines, and you know what is good for you. I know what is good for me. Nobody else knows what is good for me. Nobody else knows what is good for you. And years ago, it was back in 2014, I worked with a shaman and we did some really deep dive work around who I was. And I've been on this journey for many years of coming back home to myself. And this is at the heart and soul of the work I'm here to guide you into as well. And one of the medicines that I discovered from doing my own self-inquiry work, because nobody else can do this work for you. You have to do the excavation work. Is one of the medicines was space. I need a lot of space in my life, a lot of space in my mind. I have OCD, I'm probably ADD as well. My mind doesn't stop, and the more pressure, the busier my life gets, the more crammed in my mind feels, and it's harder for me to think. And also, from years and years of living with self-loathing and self-destructive behaviors. I used to be an addict, an alcoholic, many years ago, and I have to tread lightly as I move through this life of mine. I have to tread lightly, I have to tread gently, and I have to honor my medicines. So one of the medicines is space, and then followed very closely behind is silence and solitude. And I actually moved from the UK to Turkey back in 2022 because I always felt I could be more me in this country. And I really have, and I still do, I really enjoyed living here. It's a beautiful country. I'm looking out my window right now, looking at the mountains, looking at the sea. And yet, what I'm learning is it does not matter where you put me in the world, where I go, I am always there. And it's very easy for me to get seduced by external markers of success. And so where I found myself at the beginning of the year, well, there was two trains of thought going on. One, my business was doing amazingly. It was very successful, and I had more disposable income available for me, which gave me more choices. And I invited my adult son to come and move here with me to Turkey because we had a very tumultuous relationship, and he wasn't doing very well in England, and I felt compelled. I was like, you have to ask him to come and move here. And it was a scary decision. I was talking in yesterday's video about how do you know when it's time to make big decisions. And yet I knew I had to do this. So there was that going on, this kind of feeling of you've got to take care of him. You can now take care of yourself, which is another reason why I moved to Turkey, so I could take better care of myself. And yet what I found over the last year, my business in 2020, what year are we in, 25, 24, grew exponentially. It grew really, really fast. I lost myself in that process and got really hooked on to as I said, the external markers, money, people validating me online, a huge following. And what I found in all of this was I lost my humanity. I lost my authenticity. I lost me in all of this. And I was really struggling as I came into this year because part of me, it was my ego part, was like, this is not enough. We need to work harder. We need to get more women in. We need to earn more money. And so what I did at the beginning of the year was I was moving really fast and I had no space. And so I wasn't making the best decisions. So I was at that time hiring a lot of different coaches because I felt this really deep incongruence between the business I'd built and me inside. And it felt really uncomfortable. And also, I was starting to feel very exhausted, very tired. And then what happens with me is, because I wasn't listening to the signals, I carry on working, I carry on doing more, I carry on hiring more coaches because I'm like, oh, well, they're going to know the answer. I'm at the time, I was like, oh, I need to scale this business into a multi-million-dollar business. But I was losing, as I said, losing touch with myself, and this tiredness and this propelling, it felt really compelling, it feels really seductive when I get into this. It lures me in. I was ignoring all the signals in my body, and I was starting to feel resentment. I was starting to feel bitterness. And as a 3/6 projector, I know that is a sign that I'm out of alignment. And then what else was happening was my body was responding. I had really bad eyes and I couldn't see. I literally was on the computer, on my phone, and I just couldn't see even with my glasses on. But I kept plowing on. And then my body was really tight and constricted, and everything just felt like I was pushing a boulder up a hill. And every morning I would wake up, I've got to keep going. It's like nothing I'm doing is good enough. Now, if I root myself all the way back to my core conditioning, my core wounding, I'm not good enough as I am. I'm not enough as I am. And so this fast trajectory of my business, this supersonic elevation online, really disconnected me from me. And my mind at the time wasn't ready to, well, the words that want to tumble out of my mouth now is to admit defeat, to admit that I failed, to admit that I fucked up. And so shame lives within me. And so all of this was getting spiked up, was getting dredged up. And I didn't realize it at the time. Now I'm like nearly 6 months out the other side. I worked with a couple of different coaches, and one woman said, "You're holding a lot. You're doing a lot." And I was like, "This is nothing. It's nothing. I can keep going." But it was her words saying that's a lot of energy to hold. And my body was telling me things, so it was like flagging up, like loads of these red flags were flying in my face. I listened to that. And I know as well, it's because of all the work that I've done before on myself, of clearing out all my sneaky ways that I self-abandon myself. And here's the thing, I was also in denial because I was like, well, I'm not drinking and haven't got any toxic behaviors while I'm working and building this business. The toxic behavior, the red flag, was that I wasn't listening to my body and I wasn't listening to the incongruence. And so my body's ailments were getting louder and louder and louder. And so I slowly pulled back from showing up online around February this year. And then in April, I closed the business down. And it wasn't an easy decision at all. It was very, very scary. And in tomorrow's, I'll do another part to this. Tomorrow's part, I'll talk about what happened, the repercussions of me making this decision of choosing myself over choosing the business.